Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this B2B content marketing strategy guide, you're going to get a complete done-for-you template for developing your own content marketing strategy and creating content specifically that actually converts into paying customers down the road, because not all content is created equal. So timestamp table of contents in the description, along with some other helpful videos in putting together the rest of your content marketing process. Now, as we dive into these 5 simple steps, there are 3 keys to success when it comes to putting together your content, and we'll rapid fire through them and then just dive right in. So the very first key to success is making sure that you follow the mantra of done is better than perfect. Your piece of content, no matter what type of content you're making, can always be better. But you know what's worse than a bad piece of content? No piece of content at all. So definitely perfection is the enemy when it comes to getting started with your content creation. And of course, this ties into key to success number 2, and that is to not compare your content to other creators, other influencers, or other businesses in your space, because they've probably been doing it for a while, and it's not reasonable to think that your content is going to be at the level that you want or at their level right out of the gate. You have to remember that everyone starts off at 0, and the more you post, the more you create, the easier it's going to be to make content that you can be more and more proud of as you go on down the road. Now, the final one, number 3, comes to making sure no matter what platform you decide to use, we'll choose that in number 3. Step number 3 here is you actually engage. It's crazy how many blogs I go to or YouTube channels I watch that the creator or the business owner never responds to anyone who comments. And comments are where you're going to get the best insights as to how your content is performing, and more importantly, where your content is falling short, so you know how to create better content in the future that's going to attract the right type of ideal customers. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right in. The very first step is, of course, making sure you have a firm understanding of your ideal customers. Now, I'll link up in the description to a deep dive video on a data-driven method for putting together your ideal customer avatar. But here we're just going to go through a brief summary of it and answer 3 big questions. So the first one, what are they doing instead? Who is your customer avatar? And then what do they care about? And this is going to help us create our content marketing strategy. So for the first question, what are they doing instead? You want to go look at where your ideal customers are already consuming information. Who do they already trust? Who are they already going to for advice? And so you want at least 5 media properties. So when I say media properties, I mean magazines, YouTube channels, Facebook pages, Instagram accounts that they're actively engaging with, or that they would go to if they had a question around your particular product, service, or business. And this information will actually help you with the next step, which is figuring out specifically who your ideal customer is. And so there's 2 ways you can go about doing this. The first way is if you have a website and you already have Google Analytics installed. If you don't worry, because the list that you just came up with will help you with the Facebook Audience Insights tool. But if you have your website set up with analytics already, there are 3 simple reports that are going to give you really great information specifically about where your ideal customers are, their basic age and gender information, and some basics on what they're interested in. Again, link in the description to a video that takes a much deeper dive into how to use Google Analytics to do this. If you don't already have a website with some traffic data that you can use, then you can take the list that you created with the first question and go over to Facebook Audience Insights. You do have to create an ad account, but you don't actually have to pay for ads in order to use the tool. And you'll simply type them in, and the Audience Insights tool will give you a tremendous amount of information as to what your competitors or other media properties followers look like. And so it's a great way to get an understanding of who your ideal customer is. And at the end of all this, before we get to the third question, you just want to have a really clear picture of who they are and where they are in their journey. Because as you go through creating your content, you want to keep in mind whether or not you want to talk to beginners, intermediate, or advanced in whatever type of how-to tutorials you're going to be putting together as part of your content strategy. And with that, you're ready for the final question, which is actually going to drive the rest of your content production process, and that is, what do they care about? So we can actually break this down into 2 specific questions as it relates to your business. And this is going to help you create your content pillars. This is all going to build up to you actually making content in step number 5. So what we want to do here is answer 2 important questions. Number 1, what are their results? What are they ultimately after? And then number 2, do they think is getting in the way? Not do what we think is getting in the way, because you're the expert, you're the service provider, you're product person, so you know how to solve the problem, but they might not understand your specific solution. So we always want to come from the ideal customer's perspective first, and then through our content, move them to whatever our worldview is on the product or service that they should be using. And so let's go ahead and use a concrete example of someone who wants to grow a YouTube channel to illustrate how this plays out. For results, we have they probably want to be full-time, and they probably want to leave whatever their current job is so they can pursue YouTube and their passion full-time. Okay, great. That sounds like a pretty good result. Now, what do they think is getting in the way? Well, probably not enough views, not enough subscribers, not making enough monetization on their channel, and maybe they think their video quality needs to be improved to solve some of those problems, or they're not happy with how their videos are ranking organically on YouTube. Those are all things that they could be struggling with. And you want to go through this exercise with your own ideal customer. This should probably take anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes to get a really big list. And then once you have this list, you're going to want to look at all of it and try and, I know this is going to be hard, but try and categorize everything into 3 to 5 big categories. And these 3 to 5 big categories that you come up with are going to represent your content pillars. And what your content pillars are going to allow you to do is to easily make sure that you don't create the same type of content over and over again, and it's actually going to help you with your content calendar. So you want a minimum of 3, because you should be posting 3 times a week. We'll get to more onto that in the next step, but you can have up to 5 if you're going to be really audacious, posting 5 a week, or you're just going to rotate through these. But what's really important here is we use those 2 questions, and then we organize everything, and then we decide what our content pillars are going to be, which really makes sure that all of the content you make moving forward is directly tied to results that your ideal customer wants and roadblocks that they need to overcome. So make sure you're always making relevant content. So for our example here, our pillars could be channel growth, video production, and monetization tactics. And once you have your content pillars, you're ready for the next step, which is deciding your content medium. So there are 3 main content mediums. You have written, you have audio, and then you have video, like this one. And so which one should you choose? Obviously, I'm a little biased. I think video is the way to go, but video does take a tremendous amount more time compared to the other 2. The advantage of video, though, is because the barrier to entry is high, a lot less other businesses are actually taking the time to invest in video. So you're going to see a much larger return in the long run because you're going to be ahead of the curve. Now, when it comes to written, it's very easy to even hire someone to do writing for you. I'll link up in the description to a video that walks you through how to delegate a lot of what we're talking about here. And then, of course, audio is kind of a happy medium in between the 2, where you don't have to jump on camera, but you don't necessarily have to spend hours typing up a really well written blog post, which most people don't actually enjoy. And so which one should you choose? Well, that will be dependent upon 2 things. Number 1, if you're the one who's going to be producing the content, then it has to be something that you think you're actually going to enjoy, or you actually want to get good at. Because trust me, nobody is good when they first start writing about their particular topics. No one's great when they start their podcast. No one's awesome when they just jump on video. So it's not like you're going to feel like an expert out of the gate, but you do want to choose a medium that you feel comfortable with and you want to be comfortable with. And then number 2 is if you're not going to be producing the content, then just think about your budget, because video, then audio, then text is the order of expensive, with video being the most expensive. So if you're going to delegate it, it might make more sense to do text, and then later on you can turn it into audio or video when you have more time or a larger budget. So whatever content medium you choose, if you go ahead and go with video, it's going to be YouTube. If you go with audio, then you're going to be doing podcasting. And if you go with written, then you're going to be creating a WordPress blog. Now, whatever medium you choose, it's now time to decide what day of the week you're actually going to post. And this is going to be dependent upon how much you can put into your content strategy. And so even if you see other people, remember number 2, key to success number 2, don't compare yourself. You can see other people or see other companies and they seem to just blast out content left and right. If you only have time to commit to 1 a week or 1 every other week, then commit to it. Because what's the most important part of this whole content process is that you settle into that marathon pace and you consistently produce week over week, month over month. So a recipe for disaster is trying to do 10 posts out of the gate and then not do anything for 3 months. You really want to get this into as a part of your routine. And so as you can see here, the content pillars actually allow you to easily decide what day of the week is going to be about what. Now, obviously, if you're doing 3 days and you have 5 content pillars, it's up to you to kind of figure out how you're going to rotate through your topics. But once you know where your main platform is, then you can decide where, when, and what you're going to post on all your other social media channels. I'll actually link up in the description how you can take your main post, whatever medium it is, and easily syndicate it across all the other social media channels. Now, at this point, you may be wondering, okay, this is all great, but what about the actual content? And that's what step number 4 is all about. Now, when it comes to the actual topics of your content, step number 5 will go through what to do before you start writing, recording, or editing whatever medium you're doing. Here, you want to figure out what you should actually be talking about, because we have kind of the 30,000 foot view right now. We know these are the general topics people care about and want to learn about. Okay, great. But what specifically though? And so there's a couple of places you can figure out what your content should be about. One of the best resources, no matter what medium you use, is something called Answer the Public. And all you want to do is look at your ideal customer profile, go to answerthepublic.com, and then just start typing in how to XYZ or what is ABC. And they'll actually give you a list of questions that are very similar to what you just asked. So it's a very fast way to start coming up with actual content ideas from questions, because as you'll see in step number 5, every piece of content should start by seeking to answer a question. Some other good ones are BuzzSumo and SEMrush. BuzzSumo does a really good job of showing you popular blog posts across your specific niche or industry. And then SEMrush can also be really helpful if you're going to be doing keyword research for a blog. Now, personally, I do a lot of YouTube content, so I actually just go over to YouTube and I treat it like Answer the Public, where I start typing in keywords or questions, and I use those auto suggestions as a way to guide me to topic ideas for videos. This is definitely not something that you should skimp on, because if you're going to put in all that time and energy into making a blog post, producing a video, you want to make sure that it's on the right topic. And so finally, step number 5, it's time to actually create the piece of content. And there's a simple process you can go through before you make any piece of content to ensure that it's actually going to be valuable to your ideal customer. And this is using something called a content frame. And it's 3 simple questions you want to ask before you dive into writing, recording, editing. The big question, desired result, and perceived roadblock. These 3 are going to help you fill something called an information gap, because your ideal prospect or customer doesn't know something or wants to be able to do something. And your piece of content is going to take them from I'm unhappy and I want to know or be able to do something to I know how to do it, or I have enough information to go figure out how to do it myself. And so this gap is what your content is going to be filling. So the very first question you want to ask is, what is the question my ideal customer is actually asking? So this is really helpful if you have a list of keywords. Like, for example, if you're looking at a list and it says how to lose weight, or if it says kale salad, well, okay, do they want to know how to actually make a kale salad? Are they searching kale salad because they want to know something else about how it should go with the rest of their diet? There's a lot of different things that just the word kale salad could mean. And so what you want to do is go to BuzzSumo, search on YouTube, and see the type of content that pops up, so you can kind of turn every keyword into an actual question. So once you have a question, then you can go ahead and go to the second part, which is identifying the desired result. So what do they want to know or be able to do as a result of consuming the content? So this is where that content gap really comes in. And then finally, what's going to be your unique twist or your unique way of communicating that, hey, you should watch my video, or you should read my blog post across everything else that your ideal customer could be engaging with. And this is simply answering the question, what do they think is holding them back from knowing or doing what they really want? And you'll see how this ties into creating your headline when we get to our concrete example here. So let's go back to our example here of someone who's trying to grow a YouTube channel, and let's say we're going after the keyword get more views. We'll keep this real basic. This can always get more advanced. So the very first question we have is, okay, if the keyword is how to get more views, well then the question is, how do I get more views to my videos? And I like writing these in first person. And then desired result, get more subscribers, have a bigger YouTube channel. So it's not just about getting the views. The views is a stepping stone to having a larger channel, which is a stepping stone to having more subscribers, which is a stepping stone to being able to do YouTube full time. So that's kind of how you want to think about the progression of things. Of course, we're not going to talk about how to be full time on YouTube with this piece of content. We're just talking about views, but it's important we remember that just talking about views is this little piece that's contributing to ultimately what they want. And maybe we have a product or service that's all about, the whole process as opposed to just this little part. And then finally, we have the perceived roadblock, and this is going to be my channel's too small to compete and I don't have a big budget for better equipment or advertising. Okay, great. So now not only do we have a clear picture of the question, we know the ultimate result that they're looking for, which is to quit their day job, but we're going to kind of scale it back a little bit. And then also we're looking at, okay, but what specifically do they think a problem is that's keeping them from what they want right now, which is more views? It could be budget because of equipment, or it could be budget because of advertising. And so we can take all this information and create our headline, and actually create several headlines, and then go ahead and create something I like to call a teaser text. And this is something you'll use to share your piece of content across social media. And this is kind of like creating this really mini, small, power-packed, unique selling proposition for your piece of content. So in this particular example, a video title could be how to get more views as a small channel, and then in parentheses, under 5,000 subscribers. So we're saying what result they're going to be able to achieve or get closer to as a result of going through our piece of content. And we're talking about a roadblock. So if we just said how to get thousands of views to your YouTube channel, well, that sounds great, but that doesn't really speak to anyone specifically. But as soon as we add as a small channel or under 500 subscribers, all of a sudden someone who has a small channel, and they might not have 500 subscribers, they might have 2,000, but they would still find value in something that's designed for a small channel, and then they can immediately connect and say, oh, that one is for me because I have a small channel and I want more views, as opposed to, oh, okay, another article about how to get more views. It's probably not going to work for me, right? And then we have our intro or teaser text, and this is, in this video, you're going to learn a video ranking strategy that allows you to compete with larger channels on YouTube, even if you have less than 5,000 subscribers. Now, of course, that's an intro for a YouTube video, but you can always modify that to be the intro to your podcast or the first line of your blog. And so with that, that completes the 5 steps of your content marketing template. I sincerely hope you got some value out of this video and have some ideas on how to put together a content marketing strategy for your business. So make sure you comment below with any questions, because I read and reply to every single one. Hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dive marketing tutorials and walkthroughs just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.